Welcome back to Dr. Chao's YouTube channel. I'm going to interview Howard County Public School graduates. I want them to share their experience, give some advice to incoming Howard County school students, make sure they get some understanding about high school experience. I hope this program will be beneficial to them. I hope this is an opportunity for you to learn something about our graduates as well. Today, we're welcoming Rachel Lin. She graduated from Howard High in 2016. She was a student board member in 2015 and 16. And now she actually graduated from college from Berkeley. Her major is cognitive science and legal study. So welcome, Rachel. Can you have a self-introduction of yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for all of your kind words. Definitely, I just graduated from college in the class of 2020 from UC Berkeley, where I double majored in cognitive science and legal studies. I was the student member of the board, also known as SMOB, my senior year of high school, so 2015 to 2016, and then I wrote some of my college application essays about my experience being the student member on the Board of Education. Throughout high school, I was definitely super involved in student government and giving back to my community, so going into college, I definitely participated in a lot of clubs and activities that revolved around those aspects of my interests. I also, similarly to you, Dr. Wu, have a YouTube channel where I post a lot about UC Berkeley related advice as well as like college advice content. So definitely check that out if you are interested in seeing advice from current college students. And I'm also launching a college consulting business in early August. So we will have an interest form if you wanted to be notified of the launch coming up soon. So definitely check that out as well, because myself and a team of super talented, intelligent UC Berkeley students are going to be reading college application essays as well as doing one-on-one consulting calls if you wanted to hear more about their experiences.
Sure, thank you, Rachel. I will put your link below the YouTube channel. Make sure other people can see that. Thanks for giving me the time to talk with you. I really appreciate that. So it has been a while since you left high school, right? Then I'm still asking the same question. In your senior year, what's the most difficult challenge for you? How do you overcome that?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really, really good question. So for me, high school was about 4 years ago. So definitely going into the longer side of being out of high school, that arena, everything like that. But thinking back on my high school experience, especially senior year of high school, I would definitely say one of the most challenging things for me was trying to balance extracurricular activities while also filling out college application essays and being the student member of the Board of Education. So all of those things are definitely very, very time consuming, especially when you have to like write and rewrite and make sure that your college application essays are super perfect and you're going to be sending them to all of these like top universities kind of thing. So for me, that was difficult, and I have been like competitively swimming since I was 9 years old. And then my senior year of high school, I had to drop the swim team and stop swimming competitively because I just didn't have enough time while doing all of the other things. So that was something that I had to sacrifice in order to participate in my other extracurricular activities. And definitely that was like a big decision for me and something that weighed heavily on my mind at the time, because I just didn't have enough time in the day. And that's a sacrifice for like high school seniors, if you're going to go through it right now, that you may have to think about if you have too much on your plate.
I see. Thank you. I think this year will be so unique for our seniors as well. And for incoming high school students, it will be different too. So because there are probably not so many extracurricular activities outside school because we're staying at home. And so another question for you is, in your whole 4 years in high school, which kind of challenge did you face? How do you overcome that?
Yeah, I think something big for a lot of high school students throughout their 4 years in high school is balancing grades and I think time management. Something that I saw because I had a lot of friends similarly to me in a lot of AP classes. So we were all like high achieving high school students, but noticing that I think our time management skills weren't the best after going to college and seeing and learning time management skills through college. Looking back, I can definitely say our high school, my friend group did not have good time management skills. You know, I've had friends in high school who pulled all-nighters to like study for a test in high school. I would like sleep for a few hours and then wake up at like 4 a.m. to keep studying for a test kind of thing. And then looking back, I think that's just so unhealthy and that's not how you should be managing your time, especially in high school, because going into college definitely is like a way different kind of study tactics. And if you're already like unable to balance high school and you're forced to pull all-nighters or you aren't studying correctly, basically, if you have to do that, then going into college, your study habits are going to follow through. And I think a lot of students, because I was a resident assistant throughout my 3 years of college, I saw a lot of freshmen come into college without those study skills and time management skills, and they really struggled when it came to like their first exam freshman year when they didn't know how to study for it. So I think in high school you definitely have to start learning those skills, honing those skills, learning time management, because once you go to college you won't have anyone, parents, friends there to like keep you on track.
I see. So it's kind of you learn that time management very well in high school. That good habit actually helped you in college as well.
Yeah, I definitely think so, especially as a resident assistant, seeing the growth of freshman students from like their first exam to like the last exam they've taken. I think if you come into college with better time management skills, you will be able to succeed a lot faster than students who maybe don't have the best time management skills.
I see. So because I watched the YouTube channel, I know what resident assistant, right? So can you expand that a little bit?
Yeah, so a resident assistant, also known as RA, is basically a student, and it's at a lot of different universities, but it's basically an older student who lives in the dorms with all of the freshmen, and we basically act as like an advisor or a mentor so students can come to us, and since we are current students at the university as well, we can give help and advice about like choosing classes or doing tests or exams, how to talk to professors. So we're basically there to create community amongst the floor so you can make friends and you just don't feel so isolated coming into college. And I was really interested in becoming a resident assistant because as an out-of-state student going to Berkeley, something that I was super nervous about was going out of state, not knowing anyone, not being able to make any friends. But on the dorm floor my freshman year, I've made so many friends and I'm still friends with them today, 4 years later, after living on the floor together. So yeah, that's like the basic gist of a resident assistant.
I see. That seems fun. So,
Yeah, definitely.
so for our seniors or high school students, remember that when you are in college, apply to be a resident assistant.
Yeah, and you know, you can also save money because at least at Berkeley, and I know a lot of other universities, the compensation is really good. So at Berkeley, for being a resident assistant, we would get free housing and free food. So you can definitely save yourself, your parents, a lot of money by doing that.
Okay, good. Remember that, our audience. Okay, can we talk about some like extracurricular activity in high school? Do you still remember that, or which kind of advice you want to share with the like incoming high school students?
Yeah, definitely. I think my biggest piece of advice for extracurriculars in high school is to join activities that really you're passionate about. I think that doing a lot of activities just to fill your resume or to look better and just have a lot of things for your college applications won't look as good than if you just picked maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 activities, and you really focused your time in the few activities that you really love and you love doing, you're passionate about them. And then maybe in those activities, you go to the leadership ranks of the activity. So maybe you're like president or vice president, or you do some kind of like recruitment for the activity. And I think that looks a lot better and can help you stand out in the college application process versus other students who maybe are just resume filling. They don't really care about like the activity they're doing, the volunteering they're doing, but they're just doing it to put it on the college application essay. Because I think a big thing, and I'm a tour guide at school as well, so I like give walking tours of the university, and I think the big thing that I say on my tours in regards to college admissions is that after a certain point, every student is very similar in their GPA, SAT, ACT, test scores, all of that. So I think the real way to stand out in the college admissions process is to find your passions, write in your essays what you're passionate about. And I think in high school, if you find those activities, school clubs, volunteering opportunities that you truly love and you're truly passionate about, it will really shine through on your college application essays, and the admission officers can see that when they're reading your essay.
I see. Thanks for sharing that. It's kind of, you just not just do it for do it, but instead you should love it and then do it and do it well, right?
Yes, definitely. Don't just go through the motions in a club or anything, but really put your time into it, because then I think that will give you a good college essay, because you will really know the ins and outs of the clubs. If you like help to expand the club, you went to like math competitions or something like that, that will shine through versus writing an essay like I was involved in like 20 clubs, but I don't really do anything in any of the clubs. I'm just like a general member.
Mm-hmm. So in your high school, which kind of extracurricular activity did you get involved?
Yeah, in my high school, so I went to Howard High. I was definitely very involved in like the student government in my high school, so the SGA. So even freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, I ran and was elected into leadership positions in the student government. And then senior year, I was the student member of the board. So it really had that natural progression of like going to and moving up in the leadership activities in the roles that I was participating in. Additionally, in high school, I was also involved in like the honor societies and stuff like that. But I would definitely say that being the student member of the board is probably like my most proud achievement from high school. And that's something that I'm really honored to have experienced.
Thanks for sharing that. I hope our student or our audience hear this. Try to, if you think about it, if you were going to run in for school board member, right? A student board member, think about it, you need to start earlier, because you just couldn't jump on the last year and apply for that. You need some experience, really get involved with your individual school and then understand the system, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if you are interested in running for student government in your high school, or even potentially running for the student member of the board position, definitely have that in the back of your mind earlier. For me, I didn't really learn about what being the student member of the board or how to apply or anything until sophomore year. So if you're starting earlier, you're definitely already ahead of where I was. So that's really great. But I think starting earlier and then starting to do things at your school that can directly relay into the student member of the board position, and something that you can talk about in like the interviews and on the video broadcast that gets shown to all of the students, because that's how you'll get students to want to elect you if you show that you have prior experiences, whether it is in like student government, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be leadership, or you just have done stuff in the Howard County community that you think can relate really well to the SMOB position. And if you're nervous about it, I would definitely say don't do it. I was really sort of on the fence about whether to apply or not, because I was scared, nervous. You know, you're being broadcasted to like thousands and thousands of students across the country, and that can definitely be nerve-wracking. But if you are interested in it, I would say go for it. You never know where the opportunity will take you. And even if it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to turn out, it was still a good learning experience. You would get interview practice, prep stuff. So I think either way, you should definitely put yourself out of your comfort zone and apply.
Thanks for the advice. So let's come back to your college, right? It has been really a while since I first know you several years ago. Now you're graduating from college, and your major is kind of very unique as well. Can you talk about a little about that?
Yeah, definitely. I am getting old, I guess. It's been a long time, and 4 years of college definitely fly by. Similarly, like 4 years of high school flies by. But yeah, my double major in college is in cognitive science and legal studies. So, cognitive science is a super interdisciplinary major where we have to take like upper division computer science, math courses, but also it blends like psychology and sociology, social science into there. So, it's a really interesting major in that it sort of explains the mind, how we think, but also talks about like AI and how we can program a computer to think the way that humans think. And I just found that super fascinating. And then the legal studies aspect is for like a lot of students who are interested in going to law school in the future. So a lot of classes about like the Supreme Court, stuff like that, which it was really, really interesting. And so even though these two majors don't really mesh well, or people don't necessarily think that they go together because none of the classes overlap, anything like that, I was really interested in doing this double major because in the future, I'm definitely interested in applying and going to law school and then potentially focusing on like law and technology. So, how we can make the technology that goes into the law more fair in terms of like predictive policing or like in startups, how we can use technology and stuff like that. So, that's why I chose that double major.
That's great. I really wish you good luck, either applying for law school or, different career pursuit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And so when you look back your high school experience, do you have any advice for HCPSS, where they can improve, where they can change?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a really, really interesting question, especially given what is going on in the world today with like the Black Lives Matter movement and the COVID-19 and all of the different tensions surrounding these two things. And so I think looking back into my high school experience and then also going through 4 years of college and having a different experience in college, being across the country in California, I think a big thing that I feel was maybe lacking from the HCPSS curriculum would definitely be like a diversity of like thoughts and ways of thinking. Basically, I think a lot of like the teachers and the people that you interact with in the school system aren't very diverse, whether it is like race, gender, religion, sexuality, anything like that. So I think that would be cool to see in a public school system, especially for students who maybe have never seen a teacher that looked like them or have never had anyone at their high school like look like them, kind of thing. And so I think going to college in California, something that was really interesting is that as a resident assistant and as a student in college, we talked a lot about social justice. And that word, that phrase is something that I've never heard of in high school. So then going into college to take like a lot of seminars about social justice and salient identities and stuff like that was really eye-opening, because I think as a resident assistant, we did a lot of workshops talking about ourselves, our salient identities, what gives us privileges in life. And so I think that's really interesting for students to realize and to acknowledge. And in high school, we never talked about maybe like our privileges, what kind of stuff like social justice wise that makes us fortunate. And like even growing up in Howard County, all of us are super fortunate to get that amazing public school system education that a lot of students that I met in college don't have as well. So that's something that I'm grateful for, and like all the students should be grateful for that are living in this county.
I see. Thanks for sharing that. I think Berkeley is kind of different, right? They are always on the front line of social movement. So definitely that kind of influence your thought a little bit as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say that Berkeley has a lot of change makers, and they are very committed to diversity and excellence. And so students are so passionate about everything, whether it is like social movements to even like technology, working at startups, working in the Silicon Valley. There's just so much diversity of thought and interest. And so that's something that I really liked about going to college, especially being an out-of-state student, is just seeing the wealth of knowledge that other students have and being able to learn from my peers every single day. So that was something that I really liked about school.
That's great. So when you was at HCPSS as a student board member, right? Do you have any like some occasions you remember you feel very kind of unique? You want to share?
Yeah, so definitely I would think that the big thing that occurred my year from 2015 to 2016 was the policy legislation regarding the school calendar. And so there was a lot of like testimonials and stuff that was happening at that time because the board wanted to remove the Jewish holidays from the school calendar so they wouldn't be days off of school anymore, while also potentially not adding or adding the like Chinese Lunar New Year and also stuff holidays like Diwali. And so that was a big conversation my year. And at first, from what I remember, a lot of the board members were not on board on like adding Chinese Lunar New Year and Diwali, but it was a really cool thing to see like the Asian community come out and support the inclusion of the Chinese Lunar New Year in the calendar. I remember we had like 300 people come to a Board of Ed meeting to talk in front of the board, and like thousands of emails coming in support of like adding the holidays and also keeping the Jewish holidays on the calendar. So that was something that was really, really cool to see.
You never saw that before, right?
No, yeah, no. Not that much like support coming in. Usually the Board of Ed meetings, there's not that many people that want to come and like give testimonials.
I see. So do you still remember one occasion you're voting in the minority side or the losing side? How do you thought about your vote?
Yeah, I don't really remember any of like the specific, I guess, minority votes that I was a part of, but definitely I could feel tensions on the board if there was going to be some sort of split vote, which I'm sure that you can attest to as well. But it's definitely a very interesting dynamic when you can feel that the board isn't going to be unanimous just by the way that the members are talking. And so that's something, especially as a student, that's very interesting to go through because everyone else on the board are like adults, super professional people. They are all very accomplished in their fields. So to be like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old working and sitting next to all of these very professional adults is definitely a very eye-opening experience, but it also is very interesting on how you balance being like a 17-year-old, but also being able to vote on like super serious matters.
I see. Thanks for bringing that student voice to the board. And I think it's so important to hear from our students. And because students is the final product of our school system, we want to make sure we value their feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing so much wonderful experience and advice with us. And do you have a closing remark?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my final piece of advice is to do what you love in high school. I think high school is a great time to explore your passions, try new things, and then going into college, it's definitely a whole different ballpark. You get to have so many new experiences in a place that you have never been before, and that was a really, really cool experience for me, and that has helped me learn and grow and be like the person that I'm becoming today. So I definitely say enjoy your high school experience, you know, do stuff because you want to do it and not because someone is telling you to do it or forcing you to do it, but really savor every day in high school because you'll be looking back, you know, like me after graduating college and, you know, miss those days of high school when everything was more simple and you have like close friends that you've grown up with your entire life. And so that's definitely my final piece of wisdom.
Okay, thank you. And welcome back to Howard County as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much for our audience as well. Rachel, I really appreciate you take time speaking with me. I hope this interview will be helpful to our incoming high school students and to some parents as well, because they care about their kids' education. I hope by learning from our graduates, we can really think about how we can interact with our children and about their education, about their growth. Please subscribe to Dr. Tao's YouTube channel. We'll continue to interview our high school graduates. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.